Hi guys, in today's review will be on a Bachmann model that I have reviewed in the past. And I thought I would re-review it, seeing though Bachmann announced it in their winter range that they're bringing it back for 2024 winter announcements. And this is the Lnwr G2A. This model in front of you is second-hand when I bought it, and it came out around 2009-2010. The product code is 31-475A. It is in a BR Late CREST livery, so that makes it Era 5. The running number of this model is 49064. And like I said, it's been out for a while, like 2010, 15 odd years. Bachmann have re-announced it in their 24 winter announcements that they do their quarterly ones. So I thought I'd take a look at it and see if they are any good and are they still worth the money that Bachmann are asking for it. So here we go, let's get into the review. As we start off at the front of the locomotive does have metal sprung buffers and they are painted black, which I think is a little bit pointless, but that's only my opinion. The buffer beam and housing is in red. There's a few rivets on the buffer beam as well. We do have a small tension lock coupling. We also have underneath that, we also have irons to knock stuff off the track. We have a separately applied vacuum pipe and a hook as well. Moving up, we do have at least 3 lamp irons on the front of the locomotive. They look to be separately applied. We also have a pipe as well by the looks of it. We have some steps as well. We have the shed code on the door, which, if I've got this correct, is 86K Abergavenny and Tidville, I think, or something like that. So if I've got them wrong, it should have popped up on the screen now. My Welsh is pretty crap, really. We do have a separately applied dart as well. The door does not open, unlike some Bachmann locomotive. We have a handrail going round. We have a lamp iron at top. We also have a chimney too. As we move on to the side of the locomotive, both sides of the locomotive are exactly the same to me, apart from this side round here has a reversing rod in black. Not sure if it's plastic or metal, but it is there and it is quite thin actually. We also have a gap in the centre where the cylinders and stuff should be, but it's just black and it's just painted black and plain. That's all there is there. There's some other piping around the area as well. There's also a little hand for the crew to get up using the steps as well. Moving on to the wheel configuration, it's 080. And you can see the rods are in metal and they do look quite nice. The axles have all been covered up. I believe the wheels are die cast as well. Delivery of this locomotive, as you can see, is in plain BR, and I think it's a late CREST as well. As we move on to the cab area, we do have the number of the cab, which is 49064, and then we have the classification, which I think says 7F. We have a small handrail at the top of that as well. There's some other piping dotted around. We also have a step 2 going up to the cab. As we move on to the cab area itself, as you can tell, the cab area is one of them like riddle style ones, I believe, or Ivor style ones, where you've got a shelter at the front and the back on the tender and the cab. Inside, we do have quite a lot of detail. There's glazing in the windows, even in the tender windows as well. Everything inside is painted. There's no wood floor or anything. Most things in there are painted. It's quite nice actually. We do have quite a lot of rivets and handrails dotted around. A bit hard to see with some decent photos. As we move across to the front of the tender. The front of the tender does have buffers, like most tenders. Also has a few things picked out as well, separately applied for the firemen. Handles for waters and brakes, they're all there. There's a few cupboards as well, and I believe there's a coal chute too. As we move on to the side of the tender, we do have quite a few handrails on the side of the tender. We also have some steps at the front and the back of the tender as well. There is that lean thing, that shelter thing that I've mentioned. It does have some bracing, and it does have glazing in there as well. If you look carefully, there is something that looks like a door as well. Could be just the coal chute. Delivery of the tender is like the rest of the locomotive. It's just black, and it's in the late BR CREST, which It's crisply applied, it doesn't look too bad. The axles and stuff down below are moulded, but at least they're painted and they don't look too bad from a distance. As we move on to the back of the tender, we do have a small tension lock coupling. We also have some irons to knock stuff off the tracks as well. The buffer beam is in red, so is the housing. The buffers are sprung and they are painted black. We also have a hook in the centre. We have a vacuum pipe. Moving up, there is at least 3 lamp irons on the bottom run. Then we have quite a few steps, we have 3 either side. There is some handrails there as well. And I believe there's a lamp iron in the centre as well. As we do a bird's eye view on top of the tender, we do have a water filler cap by the looks of it. More of an oval shape, it's quite odd actually. We also have some stuff there for tarpauling or chains to tie to. They are there, they are moulded, but they look like they are up a little bit, if that makes sense. There's lots of rivets around that area as well. As we move along to the coal area itself, this is where it gets quite interesting for me. We do have the coal load. It's metal, I think, but it's not removable or anything. If you look carefully, there's quite a lot of places for the fireman to put his tools and stuff like that. They are plastic. It's quite a nice touch, actually. We also have the support beams for the shelter bit for the firemen and crew. As we do an aerial view on top of the locomotive, we do have lots of rivets on the cab roof. That is nice. The cab roof is painted in black. We also have a whistle there too, which I think is metal. The safety valves are metal as well. We do have some glazing as well. You can see some washout plugs. Moving along, we have a separate applied dome and chimney. There's no lining or anything on this. You can also see some more piping as well. And then we get to the handrails and to the buffers as well. As you do an underneath look at the locomotive, you do see a small tension lock coupling at the front. You'll see the buffers. We do have some brake rigging already applied. I believe there's about 3 or 4 screws to take the base plate off, and I want to say it's hard wide, which I don't like. We have pickups on at least 6 of the wheels. The ones that are not flangeless are no pickups on them as far as I can tell. There's a few more details under there. You can see the irons knock stuff off the rails, and you can also see the sanding gear and stuff like that, and brakes as well. And finally, as we do an underneath look at the connection between loco and tender. The loco and tender is the usual Bachmann connection, which is a stump with a metal bar going from the tender from the loco, and then you just put in the hole you need to. Be careful with that. If you haven't got it in properly, it will come out and then you're pulling the train or the loco by the wires, which is not great. The wiring itself looks like there's some sort of chip there just before the back wheels, and then the wires go over and under the bracing for the stump, which does move. There's no plug or anything, so it's more like a hard wired job. We do have metal wheels. We also have brake rigging applied as well. We have a small tension lock coupling as well, and then we have sprung buffers. There's no water scoop or anything underneath as far as I am aware, or pickups for that matter either. So yeah guys, that's it on the tracks. Next up will be the usual points and second radius I do with all my locos. Bachmann does say it can do second radius. In the past, a few of my Bachmanns haven't managed second radius, and this is quite a big wheel arrangement. So let's show them clips now. What's that, 40, 38, something like that. It's pretty good. And backwards, a little bit faster because it goes really slow backwards. again around the 40. So yeah guys, it managed the points and second radius pretty well. Like I said, some of my Bachmann ones do not manage second radius for some reason after a certain amount of time. I will admit to something here. So I used two Gauge Master Combi controllers, one for the outer loop, one for the inner loop. The inner loop is second radius, and for some reason, to get the loco to move on that one, it was pulling around. I think it was around the 60 mark on the controller, which again is a little high, but on the outer loop it seems to be perfectly fine around 30. So next up will be the slow speed, and I've wind it at train to pull, and I'll see you at the end. So here goes. It's not bad, pretty good. For DC ready, it's pretty good. I'm saying it's 15 odd years old as well. Give it some more speed. So yeah guys, that's the end of the review and running session. Before I give my opinion on this model, I'll tell you what it was Pullen, which was a mixture of three. I'm not too sure what Lnwr stock I have, apart from one 10-ton covered van that I have. I also have some baggage cars and some 4 and 6 wheel coaches from Hatton and Hornby. Didn't bother putting any of them in, so I went for a BR, because it's BR model. I went for mainly that BR style stock with an LMS brake van and a BR brake van. So with that being said, let's get on to the price. So I've had mine from 2015, 2014. I bought it second hand off Rails of Sheffield eBay page many years ago before I was banned, and I paid around the £80 for it. That's what I paid back then, and I thought that was a bargain. For this exact model, you would have to go with the running number. You would have to go for second hand. There may be the few odd ones around that are new in a few bargain pages somewhere. You're talking again £70 second hand, unless you got it renumbered and etc. etc. TMC or places like that. If you were to buy the brand new one that Bachmann announced in the winter announcement of 2024 in the same livery, you are talking from Bachmann, you are talking £190. Again, I think that's a little steep, especially if it's in this condition, which I'll explain in a minute what I mean by that. And if you buy that same model from a shop, you're talking 160, 162, something around there, depending on your choice of model shop, depending on their pricing. Like I said, in this condition, so this only has 3 pickups, or 6 wheeled, and that's, I think, the 2 front wheels and the one below the cab. They're the only ones that pick up on this model. There's one that's flangeless, that doesn't pick up, it has no copper strip to it. There's nothing in the tender that picks up. I believe that the wiring that goes across is for the decoder or sound or something like that. So you're only getting something like a tank engine style pickups here. Again, a model this size should have pickups in the tender. Hopefully with the new price, or the new one that Bachmann have announced for their winter announcement, they have modified the pickups. That will be great. But again, for what, nearly £200 for a model that's nearly, or it could be 20 years old, you hope that Bachmann have fitted a flipping firebox at that price and have fixed the Lego tender connection somehow, because I'm not a big fan of that one. But for, like I said, nearly £200 for a model that's 20 years old is a little steep. I understand how Bachmann works and they have to prove to the bosses that it's worth doing again, but for £200, no. I would rather go down the second-hand route and buy one in a good condition. Like if this was second-hand and it's in marvellous condition. I don't like to bash models, I just think the price is a little high for what it is and how old the tooling is, and I don't know how many pickups it will have. Like I said, mine's only got 6, which basically covers the tender, and then you got 8 wheels that do not pick up, which is a shame. These will appeal to people. I believe there is one preserved, but it'll also appeal to Lnwr people, LMS people, and BR, and people that just like Steam. It will appeal to them, but most people will probably wait for a sale or second hand, and I can't blame them. But for me, mine was rather nice. It ran well, smooth, it pulled quite a lot. The train it was pulling is half my board, give or take, and it pulled it with ease. It was around the 30 mark. I did speed it up halfway through to 35, but again, it was a good speed. It seems to be well geared. It runs smooth. It's got like a lot of detail. It doesn't have any inside motions, which you would expect with a model like this. But for a second-hand model, £90 or £80 is a bargain price this day and age, for me anyway. So for me, I'd recommend you go down a second-hand route if you really want a Super D or a G2A by Bachmann. Unless you're willing to wait for a sale, I wouldn't buy it brand new. The price is just a little high for me. But they are good runners. This was my take on the Bachmann Lnwr G2A or Super D. Hopefully I've seen your next reviews. Please take care and goodbye.